Welcome to episode 231 of Girl Take the Lead, where each week we explore womanhood and leadership. And I'm your host, Yo Canny. This week, Nita Nasserdeen, an internationally acclaimed thought leader, visionary, and advocate for personal and professional empowerment, joins us to talk about mastering the it factor. As the founder and CEO of Rise Up For You, she is a two-time number one best-selling author and a two-time TEDx motivational speaker. Together, we explored self-beliefs, emotional intelligence, and transformational leadership. All very cool topics. Enjoy the listen. Here you go. Netta, welcome to Girl Take the Lead. We're excited to have you here and can't wait to hear more about your books and especially about emotional intelligence. This sounds like it's going to be a great topic for us. So thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, Yolanda. I'm very excited to share and build the relationship.
Great. So do you mind starting with introducing yourself and telling our viewers and listeners a little bit about your books and what's going on there?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. So my name is Lena Nasserdeen. As you mentioned, I'm the CEO and founder of Rise Up For You. I'm a two-time TEDx speaker, international speaker, and a two-time number one best-selling author. I would say the most important thing is I started the company Rise Up For You, and we get the greatest honor of working with organizations, leaders, and entrepreneurs around the world, teaching, training, and coaching on the skills that make up 80% of our success that we spend little to no time on.
That's so true. Having come from that environment myself, I'm going to say definitely there was no training on some of
Yeah.
these things. So I know that when looking behind you there, you've got Emotional Intelligence, your book. Can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that perhaps and the pillars associated with that?
Yes, thank you. So at Rise Up For You, we have a four-step process that we believe is the four steps that if any organization or individual can master and learn, they will be in the top 10%, not only in their industry, but just as a person, right? And those four skills are self-confidence, emotional intelligence, transformational leadership versus transactional leadership, and influential communication. And through all of our experience, Yolanda, and all of the work that we do and all the research, we have found that these four pillars are really the it factor. These are the things that we need to build a life that's thriving, that's fulfilling. I always say that's happy, healthy, wealthy, sexy, right? all those things, a life where you can have it all. And these are the skills that most of us don't really know how to build or we haven't built. But as I mentioned earlier, they make up the majority of your success. They make up 80% of your success. And so emotional and social intelligence is that second pillar. Self-confidence is first, emotional intelligence is the second. Now, this is probably our number one program. It's the number one thing that we get asked to talk about and teach about because it's very misunderstood. It's been at the mercy of massive mainstream media, right? Anytime something becomes a buzzword that like
Like influencer?
yes, exactly. It becomes this thing that like nobody really knows what it is anymore. So emotional intelligence is actually the way that I like to kind of picture, show the picture is think of it as this tree. The base, the root of the tree is the foundation of everything that you need, right? If this is rotten or if it's not sturdy, everything collapses. But in that tree, there's four major branches. The first branch is self-awareness. The second big branch is self-management. Then we have social awareness and relationship management. So notice that the first two branches have to do with just you, self-awareness, self-management. Nobody else is involved in that except for you. And then the second two branches, social awareness and relationship management, are basically what I like to say, how you play in the playground, right? Like, how are you in the sandbox with everybody else, right? What are the relationships that you build and how do you communicate with other people? But what most people don't know is that those four branches also have a bunch of leaves on them. And those leaves basically solve every single challenge that you see in your house, in the community, or in the workplace as it relates to people.
Mm.
So for self-awareness, for example, you have emotional awareness, catching your blind spots, self-confidence, being able to label how you feel. In self-management, you have stress management, emotional regulation, internal motivation, growth mindset, being optimistic, resilience, integrity. In that third branch, you have empathy, active listening. How do you read a room? Can you
Mhm.
provide service? Your nonverbal communications, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in that fourth pillar, you have relatability, teamwork. How do you coach? How do you influence? How do you manage conflict? So, as you can see, all of those things make up emotional and social intelligence, which is why it's so important. And when you can really master it to some extent, we all have areas that we need to continue to grow through. But when you can really master it, it is a game changer in your life and in your success. It helps you take your success to the next level. It helps you stand out from the crowd. I always say it gives you the it factor so that you can be seen, you can be heard, and you can be relevant.
Mm. So you mentioned a little bit about self-confidence, and I know that you've said that that's one area that you really get called upon to help
Yeah,
with a great deal. So
yeah,
what is it that goes on there? Like
yeah,
how can we improve that?
yeah. I love self-confidence. I love talking about it because if you were to ask like little Netta on the street or just, have a cup of coffee, this is what I'm most passionate about is the self-confidence piece because every day, Yolanda, I see amazing entrepreneurs, amazing women, amazing men, amazing professionals that have everything they need to be successful that are falling short because of a lack of self-confidence. That's all it is.
Mhm.
And if we can get, society and children and adults to like hack this and get it right, it'll be a game changer for how they live their life and what they do. So my team and I, every year we ask thousands, Yolanda, like 4 to 5 thousand professionals what their number one challenge is. And 83% say self-confidence. Like that breaks my heart, right? And get this, out of the thousands that we assess, 59% of them are leaders and C-suite executives.
Mm.
Right? So that
So
goes to
scary.
show you, right? Scary. And then also it goes to show you, like, it doesn't matter what position you have, what degree you have, like what you're doing. This is like an epidemic amongst most of us. And it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what country, like I speak all over the world. And when I ask people to raise their hand, the whole room goes up, because these are the challenges that we struggle with individually that really impacts our success. I always say self-confidence impacts your capacity to communicate. We leave money on the table. We leave opportunity on the table. We make poor decisions because we people please and we don't set healthy boundaries. We struggle to take action because of the resistance that we have mentally.
Mhm.
And the way that I explain it, and I talk about it in my first book, actually, the one with my face on it behind me, is we've been taught our entire life that confidence is to be confident in the thing. This is what I call micro level confidence, Yolanda. So I'm confident speaking. I'm confident standing up in front of a room teaching. I'm confident, with technology, with coding, skateboarding, you name it, singing, dancing. So we all of us have confidence in this thing. Okay. And I call it like the competency of things. But the challenge is that when you have confidence in things, anything that exists outside of you can and inevitably will change. That's the one thing we know, that change is constant. So, what happens if I lose my voice tomorrow? Well, I'm no longer confident as a speaker because I can't speak, right? This is what we saw during COVID. We had professionals and entrepreneurs all over the world. They had a lot of confidence in their titles, what they did, their roles, their jobs, their money. And then all of those things fell apart within a matter of months. And then people around the world said, who am I? What's my value? What's my identity? What do I bring to the world? Because nobody ever taught us to build confidence in the self confidence, two very different things. I also like to call it a macro confidence. A
Mhm.
macro confidence is when you have faith in your ability, when you have a belief that you can learn and grow, when you believe in yourself to figure it out. It's an understanding that perfectionism prevents you from your potential and usually creates procrastination. It's an understanding that failure is research to success and failure is not your identity. It actually helps you get closer because you're gaining more research on what works and what doesn't work. And
Mhm.
most individuals, unfortunately, do not have that. But the key is, if you only build micro confidence, when those things fall apart, you fall apart. But if you build macro level confidence, when the outside world is falling apart, you know how to build.
You'll be all right.
You'll be all right, and you know how to build. And
Mhm.
that is the most important thing. But we see people struggle with, these are all what we call confidence crushers: imposter syndrome, perfectionist mindset, the inability to create healthy boundaries because of people pleasing, a
Mhm.
lack of feeling enough. I call it enoughism. So, Yolanda, how many people do you know that they reach success, they have these achievements, and they're like, I still don't feel successful, still don't feel enough, right? They accomplished what they wanted to, but it's still not enough. They still don't feel enough, right? A
Yeah.
lack of growth mindset, not trusting your intuition, scared to take risk, fearing failure, and then therefore it cripples you to take action. All of these things are impacting the majority of people, and it really gets in their way of not only professional success, but just living a life that is fulfilling and that basically is a life where you can have it all.
Do you see things that are particular for women when you look at the challenges of they face to have this confidence? So is it like you mentioned imposter syndrome or people pleasing? What are some of the things you've seen most happen there?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I'll preface by saying that men also struggle with confidence. It's not just a women's thing, but they wear it differently. So typically when a man struggles with confidence, he asserts. I'm sure we've heard of the statistic by Hewlett and Packard that a man will apply for a job when he only has 60% of the knowledge, and a woman won't apply until she has 100%. So
Right.
even if a guy doesn't know it, he's like, whatever, let's do it. I'm just going to jump right in, right? And then they become a little bit more assertive and in some cases aggressive. Women are the opposite. So when women really struggle with self-confidence, oftentimes it cripples their ability to even do anything, to take action. And that's why so many women, they want the job, but they're like, oh, I don't have that. They might have 95% of it, but they look at the 5% that they don't have, and then it stops them from moving forward. The
Mhm.
biggest thing that we see with women, because they are nurturers naturally, is not able to set healthy boundaries, and so they have a people pleasing concept. They want to be liked, they want to be like the good person, they don't want to create any disruption, and so oftentimes they will break boundaries and they will choose other people before they choose themselves. Now that is a major confidence crusher, because when you don't honor yourself and you don't honor your values and you break them because you want other people to like you or to please them, at the end of the night you say, "Ugh, why did I do that?" Right? Like, why did I put myself last? Why am I in this situation? Why am I hitting burnout? Why am I exhausted and I have nothing left for myself? And then we start to shame ourselves and we lose self-compassion.
Yeah. Wow. It's so true though. It is a vicious cycle on
Yeah.
how that happens and how we are our own worst enemy
Yeah.
in so many cases.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes to see that. So with your clients, do you help them just to unpack that and unfold it and help them see themselves in these situations? Is that what you're kind of doing?
Yeah, it really depends on the person and what their need is. And so when we work with clients, we do everything from like team and group training for organizations to one-to-one transformational coaching.
Mm,
Obviously, the one-to-one is more transformative because now we're not speaking generally or to
yeah.
the industry, right? Or the culture of the company. It's like one-to-one, what's your challenge? And we get in on it. But it really just depends what that person needs. But the greatest way to create transformation is to coach them through questions, because transformation happens when the individual can reflect upon their thoughts and their beliefs and then start to ask themselves why. They need to be able to coach themselves. Now, we help them get there through, motivational questioning, showing the right scenarios, doing a little bit of stimulation. But what we really want to understand is not the behavior, Yolanda, but the belief behind the behavior.
Mhm.
See, I already know by how somebody behaves what their belief system is. They might not know what their belief system is, but I can tell in the behaviors what's going on up here. And it might be subconscious for them, but it's
Yeah.
very conscious, right? And representative for me. And so when somebody is in a meeting, for example, and I can tell that they want to say something, but they don't, that's a behavior, right? They basically take a step back and become passive. I'm like, okay, right there, something got in your mind that impacted your behavior to raise your hand and say something. When somebody is in, let's say, a toxic relationship, maybe they're with a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and they know it's not healthy for them, well, that's a behavior, right? They have put themselves in a position, and behaviorally, they keep putting themselves in positions. That means that there's a belief system that's driving that constant toxic behavior.
Yeah.
And so that's really what it's about, understanding, okay, you're behaving this way. You're not productive, you're not showing up. HR says that you're a liability, so we're coaching you, which we do have in these situations, right? Your leadership
Yeah.
is hindered, you're not growing in the business the way that you want. All of these are behaviors. Let's start getting to the why as to why that behavior exists.
Yeah. And is that how you suggest that all of us build our confidence, like get at the beliefs that are perhaps behind everything? I know that can be tricky, as you said, that sometimes somebody sees it in us faster than we see it in ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I know for me, I need to do writing to figure out what's the belief that's going on, because there's so many emotions
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
can be at the surface there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to unpack those so I can get
Yes.
to what's underneath it all.
It depends on the person and how self-aware they are. So we have a whole toolbox of confidence creators, right? Of how to build, and I say rebuild confidence because I firmly believe that when you're born into this world, every baby is born with confidence. But the environment that you're born into can instantly hinder your confidence, right? So we have a number of tools to rebuild confidence, but what we first have to understand is how self-aware is somebody. For example, some people, Yolanda, they won't be able to just write in their journal. They need a coach. And the reason why is because they're not self aware. And so their perception of themselves isn't actually reality to the rest of the world.
Mhm,
Right. And
mhm.
so sometimes they need a coach to say, did you hear what you just said? And they say, no, what did I just say? And then we say, well, you just negated yourself and said that you weren't good enough for this opportunity. And they say, I did? Right. Have you ever had that friend that you're like, do you know what just came out of your mouth? And they're like, I didn't say that. And you're like, yes, you did. So depending on how self-aware somebody is, can be dependent on the strategy that is given to them, right? It just depends how evolved they are in that relationship with themselves. But
Mhm,
yes, it's really important that we start with the beliefs. That's, one way. Another way of like changing your confidence today is building a personal counsel that's going to support you and not tear you
mhm,
down.
mhm,
I always say that people carry energy. Everybody carries energy, including myself, including you, Yolanda, right? So right now we're exchanging energy, even if it's through Zoom. And
mhm,
energy impacts us incredibly. It can either make us play small, it can like excite us, it can do a lot of things to us. And so if we're constantly surrounding ourselves by people that have toxic energy, that gossip, that aren't growth minded, that don't see success in you and that pull you down and tell you, like, oh, be careful, you can't do
yeah,
that, you become that. And so it's really, I'm not a fan of canceling people. That's not a part of my values. It's not in integrity with what we stand for at Rise Up For You. But I am a huge fan of creating strong boundaries around people that don't bring great energy into your space, that bring
mhm.
you down. I mean, Yolanda, how many times have you been with somebody and you leave and you're like, I am exhausted. Like, I don't feel like my bucket's not full. I am just drained and exhausted because they're what we call like the vampire suckers, right? They just suck the energy out of the room. They put you down. They have a negative mindset and they're not in a space of growth right now in their life.
Yeah. I don't know too many people anymore like that. There
Good.
was definitely a
I
time when
I
I
don't
had that.
either.
In your book, you talk about the 5 C's to gaining confidence and clarity.
Yeah.
How does that work in to what we've been talking about?
Yeah. So the first one is crush limiting beliefs. And that's exactly what we were talking about. You have to start with the belief system. You have to start with understanding what are my beliefs? And more importantly, where did they come from? Because a lot of us are carrying beliefs that were projected onto us by other individuals that also struggle with self confidence, right? And it's not always malicious. How many times have we had a parent that's like, you know what, that I would not do that. Like, don't start that business. Like, you have a degree, just go use your degree. And it's not because they want to put you down. It's because they have fear in themselves about like going and doing something on their own, right? And so they think that they might be protecting you by pushing that belief onto you. And so it's really important that we all have limiting beliefs, including myself, including Tony Robbins. It's a natural human condition. But it's important for you to ask yourself, where does the belief come from? Is the belief mine, or has the belief been projected onto me? And is it serving me or sabotaging me? And that's really important to understand. So that's the first C. Another C is the counsel that we talked about, is, getting people around you that are in your corner that can support you and cheer you on. That's another C. One of my favorite C's is clarifying your values, because when we don't know who we are and we don't take the time to know who we are, we say yes to everything and we break boundaries all the time, and we are going in a path that's unknown. And that can crush your confidence because you do things that don't feel good for you or then don't feel in alignment for you. So it's really important as individuals, and a lot of people talk about this, but not a lot of people execute on it, is to sit down and say, like, what are my top values and what are the things that are the most important to me in my life? The next step is the hardest. Do I have the courage to now honor that? So I'll give you an example. The three things in my life that are the most important for me are God number one, myself number two, and my family. Notice how I didn't say my business. I love Rise Up For You. I live and breathe the company and the mission, but it's not over God, it's not over my health, and it's not over my family. If my brother called right now, Yolanda, and was like, "Hey, I really need you," I'm going to say, "Yolanda, I'm so sorry, but I have my family. I got to go." And those are non-negotiables for me. But I created those values before I even built the company. When
Mm,
I was at my very lowest, I said, okay, I'm going to try building Rise Up For You, but let me get really clear on what I stand for, because I know once I start building it, there's going to be a lot of things that come my way, and I don't want to compromise who I am, or I don't want to tarnish like my soul and my self-confidence.
yeah.
And so when those things happen, it's a really easy, I'm so sorry, that's going to be a no for me. And
Yeah.
sometimes people will say, like, they're shocked by it, and sometimes they get really mad about it. And I just say, hey, I understand it's not the answer that you were looking for, but for me, it's going to be a no at this moment in my life. But I appreciate you, but it's a no.
Yeah.
You'd be
That's so clear.
surprised. You'd be surprised by how many people really struggle with doing that because of the people pleasing component. They're worried that the person's not going to like them and not going to talk to them. But you will be much happier when you're able to create that clarity for yourself.
Absolutely. So, is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to share with the audience before we end our episode?
I think what I'll share, Yolanda, is, you and I have been talking on like more of a high level of success, right? And what we
Mhm.
do and the strategies. But if you're listening, I want you to know that there was a time where I had no money, a ton of debt, a broken heart, and I buried both of my parents by the time I was 31 years old. And so everything that I'm sharing with you are actual strategies and tools that I used for myself when the whole world around me came crumbling down. And that's why I'm a firm believer in these skills and these success. I knew nothing about building a business. I just turned 32 years old. I lost all my money from a divorce. Everything was gone. I didn't have any inheritance from my parents. I watched both of my parents pass away before they were 65 years old. They didn't even hit retirement. And I remember at 32 being like, Okay, I have no money. I have no job. I have a broken heart. My parents that are the most important to me are gone. I can't even afford to like have a car. I went to Enterprise and was like, "Can I rent a car from you for a month?" And I put it on a credit card. But because I was able to cultivate the self-confidence and create a council of people around me and, practice these strategies that I'm sharing with you, I was able to rebuild a life that I'm very proud of, that I'm still building. My company, Rise Up For You, has an amazing team. We have about 16 people, depending on the project. We're in over 50 countries with our messaging. We are a seven-figure business built from $100. I'm getting married in a couple weeks.
Oh
So
gosh,
I know.
congratulations, Netta.
Thank you, and, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I have a
Mm,
great family, and I say that all to say, going back to the micro and the macro confidence,
mm.
I all that micro stuff completely fell apart, but the macro is what got me to get back up and continue to grow the success, and that's what I want people to get out of this
Yeah.
message and to be able to execute on.
Oh, well, it's a terrific and congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
I know I'm just like sending you all of these positive vibes for continued
Thank you.
work that you're doing to help so many people.
Thank you.
So how can our viewers find you and get your book and
Thank you.
stay in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the company is called Rise Up For You, completely spelled out. And you can actually go to our website, riseupforyou.com. There's a tab at the top that says free resources. I highly encourage you to take the confidence quiz. It's totally free, but it'll break down the confidence crushers and then you can score yourself and kind of see where you are today. I want you to do this with self-compassion. It's really just for you to see, okay, what's the area in confidence that I need to work on a little bit so that I can continue to take action and build a life, that I'm proud of. We're all over social media, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn at Rise Up For You. And then my personal account is Lena Nasserdeen, and I do my own personal social media. So if you message Netta on LinkedIn or message Netta on Instagram, I will respond to you, not a chatbot.
That's terrific. So what would you tell your 20 something self today? It sounds like you went through quite the journey during your 20s, maybe.
Yeah, I would tell my 20 something self that just be patient and do your best to look through a lens of empathy. Because when I was younger, I wasn't very empathetic. Not in a bad way. I just truly believed that everybody can do what I do. I'm like, no, you have potential, just do it. But I didn't have empathy around it. So instead of saying, like, you can do this, you got this, I would say, like, what's the problem? If I could do it, you could do it, make it work, right? Like, there wasn't a lot of love and patience in it. And I realized getting older that everyone is different, everyone processes different, everyone is in a different stage of their life, everyone performs differently. And how do I empower, encourage, and uplift them to see that versus shaming them around not doing it?
That's so good because we're so self centered, I think, getting through our 20s, trying to figure things out. And I think empathy is probably a really good one. So thank you so much again for joining us
Thank you.
and continued success and happy marriage and
Thank you.
everything that comes with that. So
Thank you.
blessings.
Thank you very much, Yolanda. I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening today, and we sure hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a comment wherever you listen to your podcasts. Tell a friend about us, join our public Facebook group, Girl Take the Lead, or visit our website, girltaketheleadpod.com. We also have a YouTube channel where your subscription would be appreciated. Once you're on YouTube, search at Girl Take the Lead. And you can also find a video of this episode on YouTube Music and Spotify. Some of my favorite quotable moments were, quote, when you can master the elements of emotional and social intelligence, it's a game changer in your life and in your success. It gives you the it factor so you can be seen and be relevant. Another was 83% of those asked stated their number one challenge is self confidence. And 59% of those are leaders and C-suite executives. And lastly, confidence crushers are imposter syndrome, perfectionist mindset, the inability to create healthy boundaries because of people pleasing, and a lack of feeling enough, which Nita called enoughism. Check the boxes on those things. Here are 3 takeaways. 1, the 4 pillars Nita talked about were self-confidence, emotional intelligence, transformational leadership versus transactional leadership, and influential communication. These are the things we need to have so we can have a thriving life. 2, the 4 branches of emotional intelligence are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. There are aspects to each of these that solve every single challenge we deal with as it relates to people. All of these make up emotional and social intelligence. And 3, self-confidence can undermine our success, and research says it doesn't matter what level or country we're in. This is a challenge we all have. We're taught to have confidence in the thing, and change is inevitable. Confidence in the self rather than the thing is about self-belief in oneself. And when things fall apart, you know how to build. Our next episode will feature our guest, Dr. Hilary Coffin, who is a clinical sport psychologist based in Austin, Texas. She is the author of the book, Hello Trauma, Our Invisible Teammate, and has a weekly podcast called Highs and Lows of X's and O's. She was a Division I college track athlete before embarking on a career focusing on the mental health and mental performance dimensions of high performers. And she is the founder of Texas Optimal Performance and Psychological Services. She serves as the performance psychologist for the San Antonio Spurs, where she developed their mental performance and wellness programs. So please join us to listen in on that episode, and talk to you soon. Bye.